We have Michel Pereira versus Andre Petroski. This is going to be in the middleweight division because Michel can't weight cut anymore. So he used to be fighting at 170. Obviously, he was about to fight Stephen Wonder Boy Thompson, I think in Utah there, and he missed weight. So because of that, they pulled him out of that fight, and now he's going to move up to kind of avoid that situation going forward. Michel Pereira, uh, 28 and 11, 5-0 in his last five, so obviously a wealth of experience. He's from Brazil, 30 years old, 6'1", 73-inch reach, fighting against Andre Petroski, 10 and 1, 5-0 in his last five. 32 years old, 6 feet, 73-inch reach. Same physical attributes for both fighters here. Um, when I kind of broke down the tape for this fight, I mean, I think that it was pretty interesting because this is Michelle's the much better striker. I mean, there's no other way to kind of say it. I think in terms of volume and technique, he's just the much better striker in this matchup. He started off pretty wild in his career, right, with that like that dancing style, like capoeira or something. How do you say it? Do you know how to say it?
Capoeira.
Capoeira, yeah. So he
Capoeira.
started off with that
Yeah.
kind of dancing style, doing a lot of like backflips, side steps, and like cage
That,
jumps.
that
Like,
part I don't think is capoeira. I think he's
oh, you just
just
doing that stuff?
styling and entertaining. That's just
Got it.
him be acting a fool, I think.
So he was doing a lot of like showboating, if you will, in his early part of his career. But if you actually watch like his last few fights, not a lot of that showboating style anymore. I mean, and it's translated into a lot of wins, right? He started off doing that wild stuff, but since he's kind of settled down, and in addition to that nice technique and volume that he has in his striking and power, also. He's also incorporated more grappling because he's using his kind of physical attributes because he's a really strong guy if you look at him. Like very cut, very like a lot of muscle. So he's a very strong guy, very good raw strength. So he's using a lot more grappling and kind of incorporating that in his fights. And it's resulted in five straight dubs. So I mean, I don't blame him. I think that was a good move to start incorporating that. Um, because his last fight, I think the first time that he lost was against this short notice guy named Tristan Connolly, and I think after that loss, he kind of reevaluated. Is like, hey, you know what? Like, I need to be a more serious fighter, right? Like, I can't just lose to this guy who, like, I think that Tristan Connolly was like coming up in weight, and it was like a really big upset, and Tristan Connolly just like beat him up pretty much for the whole 3 rounds and kind of UD'd him in a way. So that was a very embarrassing kind of effort from Michel Pereira where he kind of, got outgassed and outpaced in that fight. But he is coming off five straight wins, pretty good wins. Uh, that last win that he did have was against Santiago Ponzinibbio, which was a split, so it was a really close fight. Uh, and before that, he beat Andre Fiallo, Nico Price, Chaos Williams, so pretty good kind of record, if you will. Fighting against Andre Petroski, I mean, about this guy, the thing that what he does is he's a pretty good grappler, in my opinion. He comes from that Philly Renzo Gracie gym, whatever you like to call it. So they all have kind of good grappling skills, but man, if you watch his last fight against Gerald Mearshart, right? It was a split decision win that he got, and it was a really close fight. I mean, Andre Petroski got that knockdown in the early part, but Gerald Mearshart, he really kind of in the rounds, like in the later rounds, he made it a really close fight and kind of took it to him in a dogfight style, if you will. So I think that Andre Petroski might have been potentially lucky to get that dub, even though I did kind of score for him, but I think Jeremy Sharp really gave him a run for his money there. Um, in his other fights, I mean, he's just been kind of dominating with his grappling. I mean, this guy gets 4.56 takedowns per minute or per 15 minutes, so that's a lot. 54% takedown accuracy, 71% takedown defense. He does go for the subs, so that's something that I do like about him. He does have a good submission game. Uh, he has already two subs in the UFC, one knocked out. So he does like to try to finish his fights, but if it's against like a higher caliber kind of fighter, like a Gerald Mearshart, even let's say like a Wellington Turman, right? He doesn't really get those finishes. The only finishes that he's had is against like Nick Maximov, who's not UFC caliber in my opinion, and then two other guys who are not in the UFC anymore that I know of. Um, this is going to be the classic grappler versus striker matchup. Um, I think, me personally, just looking at the odds here, I think Andre is about to get exposed, in my opinion. Michel Pereira opened up at plus 190, and now he's minus 210. So instantly bet to a pick 'em, and now he's a 2-1 favorite. I think that that price is getting a little high. I would say that I would parlay probably Michelle up to a minus like 225, 230. And then after that, it probably gets a little high because Andre is a fantastic grappler. He does have good pace. He does have underrated power also, even though he just like swings wildly, right? If you saw that knockdown that he got against Gerald Mearshart, I mean, if he does land on you, he could knock you down and potentially knock you out. But I think that going up against a guy like a Michel Pereira, who is better as far as technique and volume against him, I just don't. I think that Michel is going to put on a master class moving up in weight here. I think he's going to be the quicker fighter. He might have even more raw power than Andre Petroski as far as the striking power there. But yeah, I mean the pick here is Michel Pereira. I I'll think about parlaying this just because I think that there's just such a big gap on the feet that I think that I just don't think Andre has anything for this guy on the feet. So unless Andre does a little bit of like grappling and like tries to take him down, I think that Andre could potentially even get knocked out in this fight. So pick here is Michel Pereira, potentially a parlay piece, but we'll see how weigh-ins go. But yeah, that's my pick for now. Gerard, what do you think about this fight between Michel Pereira and Andre Petroski?
Michel Pereira, he got he has the clear striking advantage, and I think it's like night and day because Andre Petroski, his striking is just atrocious. I think he all he has is that power. So if he can land that, he could maybe change the fight. But yeah, his striking, he doesn't set anything up. He's just winging shots and just trying to get a takedown, I think. So that's one thing he can do is the grappling part. That might be a big thing he can use here, but Pereira's probably seems like a guy who's kind of hard to take down, and he has size too and that strength. So I'm not sure how easy he'll be able to get Pereira down. I think Petroski, yeah, his I wasn't too impressed either by his grappling, but then again, he was facing Gerald Mearshart, so he was facing a pretty decent grappler there. Um, I think you would go Michel Pereira. Um, it's like a low to medium confidence for me on Michel Pereira, but the only thing I worry is if it is the wrestling aspect, if he's ready for this. Andre Petroski at a higher weight class in terms of grappling, and yeah, if this was a heavy favorite, Michel Pereira, he would kind of seem to me like a guy that would could possibly crash and burn if and be caught with a big punch or something. But maybe that's just me seeing the old Michel Pereira from before doing those flips and showboating days. And
Yeah.
I think he even painted his face as the Joker at
Oh,
face-offs before. So I guess that version would signal to me as like possible trap type of deal. But I think Michelle Pereira is probably the pick here. But yeah, Petrosky is a big guy, and the wrestling's the only thing to worry about. But yeah, it's night and day in terms of striking. Yeah, Petroski, I don't even know. It's like if you get a bodybuilder off the street
Yeah,
to strike with Petroski, and they'll look the same. Is how I
gotcha.
would
Yeah,
describe the striking ability. But yeah, so probably Pereira here.
yeah. I mean, Petoski is he's a wrestler through and through, man. I mean, he's just one of those. He looks like one of those like meatheads or blockhead people, you know. So I think that yeah, I think the striking when they're up on the feet, it's gonna be like it's going to be such a clear gap, but it is going to be that interesting question of, this going to be a bigger fight for him. Like, is he going to be able to handle that kind of physicalness of a Andre Petroski? Just because in the 170-pound division, Michel has kind of been using that power and that kind of physical attribute that he has, right, to kind of dominate some of these fights or kind of win some of these fights. So it'll be interesting to see how he does against a bigger guy. We'll see what happens there.